This is the multiple choice questions in Chapter 3, Data and Signals from the book Data Communications and Networking by Behrouz A. Forouzan. 1. If the maximum amplitude of a sine wave is 2 volts, the minimum amplitude is blank volts. A. 2. B. 1. C. -2. D. Between -2 and 2. Answer, C. -2 volts. 2 blank can impair a signal. A. Noise. B. Attenuation. C. Distortion. D. All of these. Answer, D. All of these. 3 blank is the rate of change with respect to time. A. Time. B. Frequency. C. Amplitude. D. Voltage. Answer, B. Frequency. 4. A signal is measured at 2 different points. The power is P1 at the first point and P2 at the second point. The dB is 0. This means blank. A. P2 equals P1. B. P2 is 0. C. P2 is much larger than P1. D. P2 is much smaller than P1. Answer, A. P2 equals P1. 5. Baseband transmission of a digital signal is possible only if we have a blank channel. A. Bandpass. B. Low pass. C. High rate. D. Low rate. Answer, B. Low pass. 6 blank is a type of transmission impairment in which the signal loses strength due to the resistance of the transmission medium. A. Distortion. B. Attenuation. C. Noise. D. Decibel. Answer, B. Attenuation. 7. A sine wave in the blank domain can be represented by one single spike in the blank domain. A. Time, phase. B. Frequency, time. C. Time, frequency. D. Phase, time. Answer, C. Time, frequency. 8. If the bandwidth of a signal is 5 kHz and the lowest frequency is 52 kHz, what is the highest frequency? A. 5 kHz. B. 47 kHz. C. 57 kHz. D. 10 kHz. Answer, C. 57 kHz. 9. In a time domain plot, the horizontal axis is a measure of blank. A. Phase. B. Signal amplitude. C. Frequency. D. Time. Answer, D. Time. 10 blank data are continuous and take continuous values. A. Digital. B. Analog. C. A. Or B. D. None of these. Answer, B. Analog. 11 frequency and period are blank. A. Proportional to each other. B. Inverse of each other. C. The same. D. None of these. Answer, B. Inverse of each other. 12. When propagation speed is multiplied by propagation time, we get the blank. A. Wavelength of the signal. B. Throughput. C. Distance a signal or bit has traveled. D. Distortion factor. Answer, C. Distance a signal or bit has traveled. 13. A blank sine wave is not useful in data communications, we need to send a blank signal. A. Single frequency, composite. B. Composite, single frequency. C. Single frequency, double frequency. D. None of these. Answer, A. Single frequency, composite. 14. The blank product defines the number of bits that can fill the link. A. Delay amplitude. B. Frequency amplitude. C. Bandwidth period. D. Bandwidth delay. Answer, D. Bandwidth delay. 15. Blank signals can have only a limited number of values. A. Digital. B. Analog. C. A. Or B. D. None of these. Answer, A. Digital. 16. Before data can be transmitted, they must be transformed to blank. A. Periodic signals. B. Electromagnetic signals. C. Aperiodic signals. D. Low-frequency sine waves. Answer, B. Electromagnetic signals. 17. Data can be blank. A. Digital. B. Analog. C. A. Or B. D. None of these. Answer, C. A. Or B. 18. Blank is a type of transmission impairment in which the signal loses strength due to the different propagation speeds of each frequency that makes up the signal. A. Noise. B. Distortion. C. Attenuation. D. Decibel. Answer, B. Distortion. 19. Signals can be blank. A. Digital. B. Analog. C. Either A. Or B. D. Neither A. Nor B. Answer, C. Either A. Or B. 20. A sine wave is blank. A. Periodic and discrete. B. Aperiodic and discrete. C. Periodic and continuous. D. Aperiodic and continuous. Answer, C. Periodic and continuous. 21. Blank data have discrete states and take discrete values. A. Analog. B. Digital. C. A. Or B. D. None of these. Answer, B. Digital. 22. For a blank channel, we need to use the Shannon capacity to find the maximum bit rate. A. Noiseless. B. Noisy. C. Low pass. D. Band pass. Answer, B. Noisy. 23. What is the bandwidth of a signal that ranges from 1 MHz to 4 MHz? A. 1 kHz. B. 3 MHz. C. 4 MHz. D. None of these. Answer, B. 3 MHz. 24. Blank signals can have an infinite number of values in a range. A. Analog. B. Digital. C. A. Or B. D. None of these. Answer, A. Analog. 25. A. N. Blank signal is a composite analog signal with an infinite bandwidth. A. Digital. B. Analog. C. Either A. Or B. D. neither A nor B. Answer, A, digital. 26. A periodic signal completes one cycle in 0.001 second. What is the frequency? A, 1 Hz. B, 100 Hz. C, 1 kHz. D, 1 MHz. Answer, C, 1 kHz. 27. The blank of a composite signal is the difference between the highest and the lowest frequencies contained in that signal. A, period. B, bandwidth. C, frequency. D, amplitude. Answer, B, bandwidth. 28. Blank is a type of transmission impairment in which an outside source such as crosstalk corrupts a signal. A, noise. B, distortion. C, attenuation. D, decibel. Answer, A, noise. 29. Blank describes the position of the waveform relative to time 0. A, amplitude. B, phase. C, frequency. D, voltage. Answer, B, phase. 30. Given two sine waves A and B, if the frequency of A is twice that of B, then the period of B is blank that of A. A, 1/2. B, twice. C, the same as. D, indeterminate from. Answer, B, twice. 31. As frequency increases, the period blank. A, increases. B, decreases. C, doubles. D, remains the same. Answer, B, decreases. 32. If the available channel is a blank channel, we cannot send a digital signal directly to the channel. A, low pass. B, low rate. C, band pass. D, high rate. Answer, C, band pass. 33. For a blank channel, the Nyquist bitrate formula defines the theoretical maximum bitrate. A, low pass. B, band pass. C, noisy. D, noiseless. Answer, D, noiseless. 34. In a frequency domain plot, the horizontal axis measures the blank. A, phase. B, frequency. C, slope. D, peak amplitude. Answer, B, frequency.